Today's the day Big Rush officially debuted on Nickelodeon on January 18th, 2010. And I would typically make a video about the on-air pilot since I did it for the Monkees, and Big Time Rush was inspired by the Monkees. I've actually decided to talk about their pitch pilot, Brand New Day. I don't think the on-air pilot is Brand New Day, to my knowledge, considering the Lost Media Wiki hasn't really been updated yet, but that's besides the point. To those of you who live under a rock, Big Time Rush is an American musical comedy sitcom created by Scott Fellows that aired Nickelodeon. It follows the Hollywood misadventures of four hockey players from Duluth, Minnesota: Kendall Knight, James Diamond, Carlos Garcia, and Logan Mitchell, after they are selected to form a boy band by fictional mega music producer Gustavo Roque. I think I said it right. And like I said before, it was inspired by the Monkees. I say this because in the on-air pilot for the Monkees, they did actually have a manager of some sorts, much like what Gustavo is to the Big Time Rush people. And also they live in Hollywood, while the Monkees lived in Malibu. Fun fact, they actually live in Malibu. Mickey said it in his show when I saw him, and he was baffled by how they were able to afford living in Malibu with that house.
A sitcom about this group. Or rather, it was about this, it was a TV show about a group. This group, imaginary group, called the Monkees, lived on a set, this beach house in Malibu, supposedly.
That is crazy.
And the story, the theme of the show was about this group that wanted to be famous, wanted to be the Beatles, wanted to be the Rolling Stones. And it spoke to all those kids in the States, around the world, who were in their basements, in their living rooms, in their kitchens. They were trying to make it. On the television show, it's important to note that the Monkees never made it on the television show. It was that struggle for success that I think endeared it to a whole lot of people. We never made it on the show, which does beg the question of how we could afford a Malibu beach house.
However, before the show premiered on Nickelodeon, an on-air pilot to the first episode was produced, with the show being called Brand New Day. The pilot featured a slightly different cast, mostly an alternate band lineup. Although a few scenes from the pilot have resurfaced, the full pilot hasn't been found, which makes me think that this, on-air pilot that we're looking at might be Brand New Day, but since it's not really the full pilot, it's not Brand New Day. In 2007 to 2008, a pilot was shot for the show that'll become Big Time Rush, then titled Brand New Day. It was filmed in Los Angeles, California, and was produced by Scott Fellows, with collaborations of Nickelodeon, Sony Music, and Rockart Inc. This already reminds me of the Monkees, because I think their pilot wasn't named something different, but they were going to go for something like the Beatles. They weren't going to be called the Monkees. The other pilot says they're the Monkees, but I think they're going to go something completely different when they were making the show. The pilot, the plot of the pilot was similar to the official first episode, with some differences. The elephant in the room being, who the fuck is that? That's not Kendall! Okay, for context, everybody knows that when they see the on-air pilot for Big Time Rush, they notice that our boy Kendall is not in the pilot. And that's because, originally, Kendall was played by someone named Kurt Hansen. And he was going to be, named Kurt and not, Kendall. So they didn't really, I don't know what happened to the audition process, but another difference is that Katie Knight, Kendall's sister, was a teenager and she wasn't played by Sierra Bravo, while Mrs. Knight is also played by an unknown actress. So the biggest difference in this on-air pilot is Kendall and his family. Other than that, they did have the other boys as their roles, like James Maslow as James and Carlos Penavaga Vega or as Carlos and Logan Henderson as Logan. It was just Kendall that was different. He was Kurt Knight and not Kendall Knight. After the pilot was pitched to Nickelodeon, the pilot was never released to the public. The only public footage is from 4 scenes that were unofficially leaked in 2011. Various behind-the-scenes photos and a photo of the script also exist online. Out of these, the pilot hasn't fully released online. So that video that I mentioned about it being the pilot, yeah, I can 100% say that is the pilot, but it's not the full pilot because it's only like 7 minutes long, and it's the only footage that we have of the unaired pilot. Here's to hoping they will air it one day. I don't know. The Monkees aired their pilot, but they made it episode 10, as I mentioned before my video about the pilot. But yeah, before I end the video, let's do a little trivia. A song named Brand New Day, performed by Isabella Moner, is the theme song of 100 Things to Do Before High School, a Nickelodeon television series that was also created by Scott Fellows, and aired in 2015. Fellows wrote the song with Andreas Carlson and Desmond Child, who worked on early music for Big Time Rush, including the song Famous. You know, wanna be famous! You can kind of tell they were going for a mix of the Beatles and mainly the Monkees, because as I said before, the Monkees were the main inspiration for this show, but this is giving me Beatles. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wanted to make this real quick because I'm still working on the Waltons video, but I didn't want to miss the anniversary of the Big Time Rush, you know, airing on TV for the first time, so I was like, okay, I'll do this. You know, I've done Big Time Rush videos before, and I think I'd do another one, you know? Third Big Time Rush video. I was really hoping to one day make my video about how Big Time Rush was better than the New Monkees, but that's gonna take a while to make. We'll get into that when we get into that. I also was supposed to make a video about the New Monkees, but I want it to be a collab video, but it's also a drawing video, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
She told me that she loved me, and like a fool I believed it from the start. She said she'd never hurt me, and then she turned around and broke my heart.